Hello everyone, Old Man Cam here, back with another review for a game that I played in 2019. Today, I would like to cover Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is an action, third-person action, I would say RPG, but it's an RPG in like the Eastern meets Western way. You run around the map, you kill big bosses, and that's pretty much the name of the game. You kill them over and over in order to get their parts, make their weapons and armor, get better weapons and armor, take on stronger enemies, and you do that forever until you have all the weapons and all the armor. Now, a lot of you who are familiar with Monster Hunter are familiar with the newest incarnation of the series, the long-running series, Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World is a little bit different. Everything in Monster Hunter is still pretty much there. The fighting style, the moving around, the big boss hunts, the epic fights, it's all still there. But the way that it was before was definitely a microcosm of limitations of the hardware that it was on. The original Monster Hunter came out on PlayStation 1, I believe. Does it PlayStation 1? Maybe PlayStation 2. I'm not sure. But then it went through iterations on the PSP, the Vita, the Wii, the 3DS most notably, the Wii U, and finally swinging back around to the Switch. And so most of those pieces of hardware were really not very strong for their time. In a game of the scope of Monster Hunter, you had to have some limitations there. Those limitations were in loading zones, areas that made the game a little cumbersome. Little things about the game are nitpickingly cumbersome, and they slowly improved on those things from game to game. Going back to Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate specifically, it does not have quite those same limitations. This is a game that was actually made originally for the 3DS, and it very much so shows. Graphically, it does not push the Switch at all. It literally just looks like an up-res version of the 3DS game of the same name, because it is. It literally is. But from a culmination, it does stand up to its name. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is the de facto game of all the Monster Hunters before it. It's a culmination of most of the big ideas from games before it. And it shows. There's a weapon variety and a monster variety that is unmatched in any other game. Even World does not have nearly as many weapons and armors and monsters as Generations does. And it's not even close. Again, with that being said, it's a game that I go back to a lot because I miss that old classic Monster Hunter feel, the old style, the goofiness. There's some of that in World, but World also aims for a more realistic look, while Generations is very much so the old Monster Hunter. It is the celebration of old Monster Hunter, and for that reason I appreciate it very much. Now, it's not a game that I put a whole lot of hours into, mainly because Monster Hunter Generations, which I had for the 3DS, is basically the downgraded version of this. So Generations came, and then Generations Ultimate came out. It's basically the same thing Capcom does for all their games where, for example, you got Street Fighter 2, then you got Super Street Fighter 2, and I've moved my character from Generations to Ultimate, so I already had a pretty strong character. I was already basically starting near endgame. I did not want to do that. I started over, and I've been chugging it along at it a little bit by bit. I think I've grown out of my Monster Hunter is the greatest thing of all time phase, but I do still love the game. I still have a soft spot for the game. I plan on continuing to play Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate here and there, bit by bit, building up my character, because it's a fun experience, honestly. Out of all the Dark Souls-y type games, I like Monster Hunter the best because I think it's the game where you have the most control. I think I've said enough about the game. I have made a video about the differences between Monster Hunter Generations, well, the old Monster Hunters in general, and Monster Hunter World. I will leave a link to that. But let's go ahead and give Monster Hunter Generations a B. And I'll see you tomorrow.